Rise up, you dead, slain of the Hydra. Rise from your graves and avenge us. Those who steal the Golden Fleece must die.
There are certain movies that you see when you're a young kid that totally stay with you for the rest of your life. And these don't have to be the best movies around, but they'll always hold that special place for you just because you saw them through that rose-tinted lens of nostalgia. So I want to talk about one such film for me, not only because it came early in my infatuation with movies, but it also just happened to be an outstanding example of the genre that it sits in. At some point in my childhood, I first watched Jason and the Argonauts, and the world of cinematic adventure and cool special effects kind of opened up before me. Let's take a look. So like I was saying, this was probably the first time that I watched some of the work of the grandfather of special effects, Ray Harryhausen. And it managed to blow my mind, despite me most probably watching it on like a little 13-inch TV with the action interrupted by commercials every 20 minutes. Right, I just need to apologise off the bat to the director of Jason and the Argonauts, the late Don Chaffey, because I do feel sorry for the directors in the movies that Ray Harryhausen's worked on, because no one ever seems to remember their names. People, well, as well as myself, people refer to them simply as Ray Harryhausen films. Now, Chaffey directed an absolute mountain of TV stuff, including episodes of legendary shows like The Prisoner, The Avengers, Charlie's Angels and Mission Impossible. But his crowning glory would be Jason and the Argonauts, and it's the story of Jason, played by Todd Armstrong, who returns to the Kingdom of Thessaly after a 20-year hiatus to make his rightful claim to the throne. But first, he must go on a crazy quest to find a magical Golden Fleece. So he starts off getting a boat built for this quest, the Argo of the title, and then puts together a crew for it, basically inventing the Olympic Games in the process.
Perilous of Athens, champion archer of Greece, Euphemus of Taenarum, Spirus of Syracuse, Hercules! He's here!
So with the help of Hera, Queen of the Gods, who creepily possesses the ship's figurehead so she can chat to Jason, we all set sail.
You will reach land at noon.
Where?
The Isle of Bronze.
I've never heard of it.
No mortal has. It was the foundry of the gods.
And once we get this first half hour of plot setup out of the way, the movie kicks off spectacularly with a visit to the Isle of Bronze and a run-in with a 100-foot living statue, Talos. This giant bronze statue comes to life, and this was the stuff of nightmares back when I was a youngster. And he punishes a treasure robbery attempt with the destruction of their swanky new boat. On closer inspection, actually, the plot, in all honesty, is basically a series of special effects set pieces just like this one, each stop of the journey offering a clue to the next and an opportunity for Harryhausen to showcase his talents. We have a run-in with some harpies who torment a blind man because he defied the gods, and a still quite impressive sequence where an enormous King Triton rises from the water and literally moves mountains for Jason and his Argonauts. Which reminds me, actually, the gods. Although it's super cheesy, I love the idea that we keep cutting back and forth to and from Mount Olympus, where we see the gods influencing events by basically playing a kind of chess game with humankind. Niall McGinnis and Honor Blackman as Zeus and Hera respectively. So after Triton's watery exit, Jason picks up a shipwrecked brunette named Medea. She injects a bit of welcome feminine charm into proceedings amongst all the sweaty sailor talk, but she ultimately ends up leading them into being prisoners of some dodgy cult once her people realise they've come to nab the Golden Fleece.
I know you've come for the fleece. And I know, too, that if you cannot win it by bargaining, then you plan to steal it. But we'll never part with it, Jason. It is a gift of the gods.
This is the part of the film that gives a bit of a welcome breather to the action, but will probably be the bit where young children will switch off. It's not long before Medea eventually manages to lead the group to the Golden Fleece, and a bit of an underwhelming battle with a giant hydra that's oddly the film's most disappointing bit of claymation mayhem. But thankfully, it leads to the finale and one of cinema's most famous visual effects sequences, as the bonkers cult leader takes some of the vanquished Hydra's remains and uses them to raise the children of the Hydra's teeth, an army of sword-wielding skeletons.
And there!
And here we get a skeleton versus Argonauts sword fight that's still impressive nearly 60 years later. At the time, it must have been jaw-dropping stuff.
Get back!
It's a fight that lasts for about 3 minutes but took Harryhausen 4 months to complete, and it's really the real deal. It's painstaking filmmaking from a golden age of special effects. Now, I actually had to look up on IMDb to see what had happened to Todd Armstrong, who plays Jason, and outside of a few TV roles, he seems to have almost vanished off the planet after this film. And incidentally, all of his dialogue for this movie was dubbed over by another actor. The film has a great Bernard Herrmann soundtrack, and it's maybe one of his best. It totally makes the film and is at its peak during that nightmarish skeleton sequence. And it's odd, but I hadn't realised how quickly and abruptly the film finishes until rewatching it recently. It has a jarring, there will be other adventures for Jason moment that's almost like the plot just runs out. So as a very young dude, for years I used to get confused by this and Clash of the Titans. I used to wait for Medusa to turn up in this film, or for the skeletons to show up in that one. And I feel like this film sits in that rose-tinted, romanticised bracket of movies that should only really exist when you're 8 years old on a cold and wet bank holiday, maybe a Boxing Day or an Easter Sunday. Go check it out.
I have not yet finished with Jason. Let us continue the game another day.